We're kicking off today with John Cena, who is set to be a part of next week's Raw debut on Netflix, where he'll kick off his retirement tour. As one of WWE's biggest ever stars in history, fans are excited to see what's in store for Cena's last in-ring run, and what does the promotion already have in mind. It's been previously reported that the WWE are considering Cena vs. Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41, with a chance to become a 17-time world champion possible, but that's not all in mind. Fightful Select reports that WWE is very heavily integrating Cena into major storylines throughout his 2025 farewell run, with a send-off that'll honor his legacy and excite fans. Several WWE superstars have put themselves forward for Cena's farewell tour, including former opponents like The Miz and Randy Orton, as well as new challengers like Braun Breaker. WWE fans will have a clearer picture as to what Cena's farewell will look like next Monday, and what major storylines are you hoping to see for Cena on Netflix? Let us know in the comments. In addition to Cena, WWE's Raw debut on Netflix will also see some major names involved, with both CM Punk and Roman Reigns making rare appearances in TV matches. Now, another major change has been made as PW Insider reports that WWE is switching the roles of its Raw and SmackDown ring announcers. That means that Lillian Garcia is set to move to SmackDown, starting with tonight's show, while Alicia Taylor is making a major move to Monday Night Raw. Being selected for Raw on Netflix certainly demonstrated WWE's faith in Taylor, whose energy and charisma has made her a standout during her time holding the mic. As to how Taylor will fare in the high-profile setting on Netflix, that remains to be seen, but fans can expect both Raw and SmackDown to sound different moving forward. It was this time last year that Samantha Irvin was announcing on Monday Night Raw, and while she's left WWE, fans shouldn't expect to see her in another promotion just yet. According to PW Insider, Irvin was backstage at this week's AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, where she saw her fiancé Ricochet complete his heel turn by brutalizing Swerve Strickland. Though Irvin being backstage sparked speculation and intrigue among fans, an update from PW Insider shared that she is under a non-compete clause with WWE. That clause bars Irvin from appearing on any combat sports programming, including AEW, and even if this clause didn't exist, it's possible fans have seen the last of Samantha Irvin in wrestling. After all, when she left WWE in October, it was stated that Irvin wanted to pursue projects outside the industry, such as her music and singing. Irvin wasn't the only notable name backstage, as WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix was also at Dynamite and was there to support her husband Cope in his first match back from injury. As for Irvin, she'll continue to support Ricochet, but not on AEW TV, and we'll have to see when, if ever, fans see the former announcer on a wrestling show after this non-compete clause ends. It was during this week's Dynamite that Cope debuted his new ring name, though fans have hardly been positive about the new moniker of Adam Copeland. On social media, many took issue with the name, with some suggesting Tony Khan forced Copeland to shorten it, similar how Vince McMahon often shortened names in WWE. The truth, however, is that this shortened name was entirely a Copeland idea, as in an interview with Renee Paquette from last year, the Rated R superstar discussed changing his name. I'm trying to, little by little, segue it to Cope, because the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland is very wordy. I'm thinking if I'm looking at a marquee, I go, ooh, Cope versus Mox. Cope and FTR defeated the Death Riders on this week's Dynamite, and he will team with FTR once more this Saturday on Collision to battle Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree. It's always difficult for fans to get used to a new name, though the audience did grow to accept calling Cope Adam Copeland after decades of knowing him as Edge. Are you coping with the Canadian's new ring name? Are you on board with the change, or do you wish he'd go back to being Adam Copeland? Share your thoughts on the name below. In June of last year, Becky Lynch's contract expired and the man opted not to re-sign with WWE, but Lynch was referenced this week on Raw during CM Punk and Seth Rollins' War of Words. For months, speculation has been growing that Lynch could be on her way back to WWE in the near future, especially after she was featured in promotional material for Raw on Netflix. In the latest update on Lynch, WrestleVotes reports that WWE is keeping Lynch's impending return in mind, and she will factor heavily into high-level WrestleMania plans. What these plans are remain uncertain, but many predict that Lynch could find herself back in the women's world title picture and facing either Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley. Lynch has history with both women as she faced Ripley at WrestleMania 40 for the title and lost the gold to Morgan at King and Queen of the Ring in May of last year. Lynch's most recent match for WWE was another loss against Morgan, and whatever WWE has planned for the man, fans can expect the Irish superstar back on the road to WrestleMania. Would you like to see Lynch face Morgan and/or Ripley? Or is there someone else entirely different you'd like to see her face at WrestleMania 41 this April? Share your thoughts in the comments. Over to AEW, and at World's End, Mercedes Moné retained her TBS championship against Chris Statlander, but the former champion wasn't the only battle happening for the CEO. In the latest edition of the Moné Mag, Moné revealed that she had been dealing with the lingering effects of relentless illness over the holidays and felt worse as World's End arrived. On the day of the show, Moné felt so bad that she needed an IV pack from her Boston's Vital Care team, and there were concerns backstage that she'd be unable to compete on the night. In the arena, Moné received help from AEW's trainers and was ultimately able to go through the match, crediting the treatment, her own adrenaline, and a renewed energy from Statlander. Moné not only competed in the match, but at nearly 25 minutes, she and Chris broke the record for the longest women's match in AEW history, breaking their previous record by 5 minutes. 2024 was a huge year for Moné, who debuted in AEW and is now a double champion, and the CEO wasn't going to let a relentless illness keep her from competing at World's End. We've got an update on Janel Grant's lawsuit now, as later this month will mark 1 year since she filed her litigation against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. Grant's initial 67-page filing accused McMahon of sex trafficking and using potential sexual encounters as leverage in WWE business dealings, including contract talks with Brock Lesnar. Now it's been revealed that Ann Callis, Grant's attorney, sent an email to the plaintiff's counsel on December 16th, sharing that they would be amending the lawsuit by January 15th. In a response, Jessica Rosenberg, McMahon's attorney, stated that, "We will connect with our respective clients on this and get back to you shortly." It's unclear what amendments Grant and Callis intend to make, but this update comes after all three plaintiffs appealed to compel arbitration, which would prevent the matter going to court. Grant's lawsuit led to Vince McMahon stepping down from WWE last year, and we'll continue to follow this case and provide updates as they become available. Tomorrow night, AEW will host its first Collision of the new year, and while several names will be appearing, one name fans shouldn't expect to see is Ric Flair. PW Insider reports that Flair was scheduled to make a cameo appearance at the show, which will take place in Charlotte, North Carolina, but these plans have been nixed. Flair himself has confirmed that he won't be part of the show, and instead, the Rock and Roll Express of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson will be appearing at Collision instead. It's unclear why plans for Flair were cut, but this change comes at an interesting time for the Nature Boy, who recently teased a return to the ring. On the 5-Star podcast, Flair said he has one more match left in him, the latest in a series of flip-flopping comments by Flair about wrestling again. On Twitter, Flair's comment caught the attention of Bronson Reed, who asked fans wanting to see him hit a tsunami on Flair, "Y'all really want to watch someone die?" Flair's most recent last match came in 2022, with Rick and others being highly critical of the bout. And do you want to see one more match for the Nature Boy? Let us know in the comments. Now, last week, WWE held its annual December 26th live event in Madison Square Garden, and after another successful show, it was confirmed that WWE will return to MSG on March 10th. That show will see the first Raw taping in the Garden in 3 years, and while fans can expect to see CM Punk at the show, meeting the best in the world will prove very expensive. This week, WWE's Experience partners on location announced VIP packages for the show that include row 1 seating at the Madison Premium Club and a chance to meet CM Punk. The downside is that this experience will cost $1,750 per person, which many fans feel is simply too expensive for a Raw taping, even when you get the chance to meet Punk. But what do you think? Is $1,750 too much for the VIP package? Should WWE be doing more to make once-in-a-lifetime experiences more accessible to fans? Let us know down below. Raw in Madison Square Garden will be just one highlight of WWE's first quarter of 2025, but this year, the company is changing how it does business, at least with its live events. As fans have discovered, WWE is conducting no live events outside of TV tapings until March, with the first live event of the year coming on March 15th in Dortmund, Germany. According to Sean Ross Sapp, WWE talent are very happy with the change, which reflects a much lighter schedule for the roster, at least for the first quarter of 2025. Unfortunately, this also means that fans in smaller cities WWE doesn't go to for TV shows may miss out on the chance to see WWE in person this year if WWE continues to host fewer events. What do you think of this change? Are you pleased that the roster will have more time to rest, or would you prefer the traditional touring format? Share your thoughts in the comments below. At Saturday night's main event last month, Chelsea Green became the first ever women's US champion, defeating Michin in the finals of a 12-woman tournament. During last week's SmackDown, fans saw Michin crash Green's championship celebration, teasing their feud will continue and fans could see a rematch later this month. WrestleVotes reports that WWE is considering having a rematch for the US title at the second Saturday night's main event, which will be on January 25th in San Antonio, Texas. The report adds that a stipulation may be added to wrap up their rivalry, and after competing in a dumpster match last October, we'll have to see what WWE has in mind for the rematch. In 2019, Jon Moxley left WWE and wasted no time in debuting as part of AEW, and since then, the sports entertainment juggernaut has made only rare references to him. Whenever they do reference the reigning AEW World Champion, they refer to him by his WWE name, Dean Ambrose, and this week, WWE found a unique way to omit the ex-superstar. On YouTube, WWE shared a video of a marathon of Monday Night Raw full-length matches and included The Shield, one of the most dominant groups in Raw history, in the thumbnail. However, fans quickly noticed that WWE opted to crop out Moxley from the image, instead only including Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, both in their Shield attire. What do you think of this? Is WWE being petty by editing out 1/3 of the Shield, or is the company right to not include AEW's current world champion? Let us know in the comments. Back to AEW now, as this week's Dynamite marked the show's debut on Max, and for the occasion, Tony Khan's flagship show got a colorful production overhaul. The show certainly appeared brighter and used new camera angles among other changes, and the response to these changes backstage has been a positive one. That's according to Fightful Select, who say that a number of people backstage were very pleased with the production changes, including illuminating the ringside sections of the crowd. Before, AEW kept these areas dimmed for the most part, but by illuminating the crowd, the show was given a bright, more lively presentation during this week's episode of Dynamite. The report adds that Warner Bros. Discovery has told AEW that the Cincinnati Dynamite episode on January 15th will need to be a major one for advertising purposes. AEW has already responded to this communication, as the show has been branded as a Maximum Carnage show, and a world title match has been added to the card. Jon Moxley will defend against the winner of next week's Casino Gauntlet at Maximum Carnage, while Hook will finally get his long-awaited one-on-one match with Christian Cage. 2025 is already off to a huge start for AEW, and what did you make of the production changes seen this week? Share your opinions on these changes down below. AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen was a huge event, and the excitement didn't stop after the show went off the air in Asheville, North Carolina. Following the show's main event, Rated FTR remained in the ring and spoke about Asheville, where FTR and Cope both reside, as well as the devastation caused by last year's hurricane. Speaking passionately to the crowd, Cope spoke about those in Asheville being tough sons of bitches and said they refused to let a hurricane keep them down. Cope continues to praise the Asheville community and ended with a resounding 828 chant, the area code for the city, as he shared the love in his adoptive hometown alongside FTR. This week's Dynamite was also a fundraiser for those affected by the hurricane, and Cope and FTR certainly honored Asheville's spirit both during and after Fight for the Fallen. One name fans didn't get to see on this week's Dynamite was Renee Paquette, who took to social media to reveal why she was absent from the important event. On social media, Paquette joked that she was reporting live in Asheville from her hotel room, sharing that she'd been sick as hell, which is why she didn't make AEW's debut on Max. This was an unfortunate setback for Paquette, who would have loved to be part of the simulcast on Max and TBS, and we are wishing the Canadian broadcaster a full and speedy recovery. Since 2019, Orange Cassidy has become one of the leading names in AEW, and with 2 reigns as international champion, has proven himself to be a top star. That success, however, has come despite Cassidy nearly not being hired by AEW in the first place, as when AEW was first coming together, Tony Khan didn't want to bring OC on board. On the Social Suplex's Tunnel Talk podcast, Nick Jackson shared the interesting fact about Cassidy and how his arrival in AEW nearly didn't happen. He explained, "I remember that Tony Khan wasn't very high on Orange Cassidy at first, so we had to kind of sell him on him for a little bit, and I remember Tony saying, 'You guys were right.' Not only were the Bucks right on Cassidy, but Khan has been so won over by him that Cassidy headlined the final 2 pay-per-views of 2024 and has been in the world title scene. As for whether Cassidy ever holds the richest prize in AEW, time will tell, but OC has certainly done well for someone who nearly didn't get hired by Tony Khan in the first place." We've got some news from New Japan Pro Wrestling next, as one of the company's top names, David Finlay, could be leaving very soon. Fightful Select reports that the contract of Finlay, the leader of the War Dogs over the last year, is set to expire very soon, which could make him a free agent. With that said, New Japan sources are confident that Finlay will remain with the company and have expressed interest in keeping the current IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion. Are you familiar with Finlay's work in New Japan? Do you want to see him stay with the company, or perhaps he'd do better in WWE or AEW? Share your thoughts down in the comments. And we're ending today with Bruce Prichard, one of the leading names behind the scenes in WWE, who stepped away from the promotion in November 2024. Prichard's absence sparked speculation about his future with WWE, though his podcast co-host Conrad Thompson shot them down, making clear Prichard is still with WWE. Prichard's absence was due to health events in his family, Thompson added, but this week, PW Insider reported that Prichard is set to resume his duties, potentially as soon as tonight. As WWE's Executive Director of Creative Writing and Talent, Prichard plays a key role in what fans see, and fans can expect to feel his influence back on the show very, very soon.